You won't believe what happened when a mother walked into the bedroom and found her children in bed. It may seem like a normal story, but what they were doing will leave you speechless. In the heart of Dallas, Texas, where the summer heat lingers well into the evening, a modest two-story house stood quietly on Maple Street. Its white picket fence, though slightly worn, still held echoes of laughter from happier days. Inside, Sarah Thompson, a woman in her mid-30s with tired eyes that belied her youthful spirit, moved through her nightly routine with practiced efficiency. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, its hands pointing to 15 minutes before 10. Sarah glanced at it, feeling the weight of another day settling on her shoulders. She had just tucked in her two children, Emma, aged 9, and Noah, 7, after a long day that began before sunrise and seemed to stretch endlessly. As a single mother, Sarah had become accustomed to the relentless pace of life, but tonight, something felt different. The air held a whisper of change, though she couldn't quite place why. Sarah's fingers traced the edge of the kitchen counter as she finished wiping it down. The house was unusually quiet. Normally at this hour, she could hear the faint giggles of Emma and Noah as they tried to extend their bedtime by just a few more precious minutes. But tonight, silence reigned. Sarah's brow furrowed slightly, a mix of curiosity and concern flitting across her face. They must be exhausted, she murmured to herself, recalling the day's adventures at Clyde Warren Park. The children had spent hours running through the splash pad, their laughter echoing across the green spaces. It had been a good day, one of those rare occasions when Sarah could set aside her worries and simply bask in the joy of her children. As she made her way up the stairs, each step creaking softly under her feet, Sarah's mind wandered to the empty space beside her. It had been just over a year since Michael, her husband, and the father of her children had passed away. The void he left seemed to grow larger with each passing day, a chasm of grief that Sarah wasn't sure how to bridge. She often found herself reaching for him in the quiet moments, only to be met with the cold reality of his absence. Approaching the children's room, Sarah noticed a faint glow seeping out from under the door. Her heart quickened, a mixture of concern and curiosity propelling her forward. As she gently pushed the door open, the sight that greeted her eyes would forever be etched in her memory. Emma and Noah sat upright in their beds, a soft lamp casting a warm glow over their faces. But it wasn't their wakefulness that caught Sarah's breath in her throat. It was the expressions on their faces, a mixture of wonder, sadness, and something else. Hope, perhaps. "What are you two doing up?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper, not wanting to break the spell that seemed to have fallen over the room. Emma, her long brown hair falling in waves around her face, looked up with eyes that seemed older than her years. "We found something, Mom," she said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. Noah, his small frame dwarfed by the blankets around him, nodded earnestly. "It's Dad's," he added, his voice filled with a reverence that made Sarah's heart ache. As Sarah moved closer, she saw what had captivated her children's attention. In Emma's lap lay a weathered leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. Sarah recognized it immediately. It was Michael's old journal, the one he had kept religiously for years before his illness took hold. "Oh," Sarah breathed, 1,000 memories flooding her mind at once. She sat down on the edge of Emma's bed, feeling suddenly unsteady. "Where did you find this?" Emma and Noah exchanged a glance, a silent conversation passing between them. It was Emma who spoke up, her voice small but steady. "We were looking for a board game in the closet, and it fell from the top shelf. We couldn't help but look inside." Sarah's initial instinct was to scold them for invading their father's privacy, but as she looked at their earnest faces, she realized that this wasn't an act of disobedience. It was a desperate attempt to connect with the father they had lost too soon. "Can we read some more?" Noah asked, his blue eyes, so like Michael's, wide with hope. Sarah hesitated for a moment. She had kept the journal tucked away, unsure if she was ready to face the memories it held. But seeing the longing in her children's eyes, she realized that perhaps this was exactly what they all needed. "All right," she said softly, settling herself more comfortably on the bed. "Show me what you've been reading." Emma carefully opened the journal, her small fingers tracing the handwritten words with reverence. "We found the part where Dad wrote about the day we were born," she explained, a hint of excitement creeping into her voice. As Emma began to read aloud, Sarah closed her eyes, allowing Michael's words to wash over her. His voice, so clear and vivid in the journal entries, filled the room, bridging the gap between past and present. "Today, I became a father," Emma read, her voice taking on a deeper tone in an attempt to mimic her father's. "Emma Marie Thompson came into this world at 3:47 a.m., all 7 pounds and 6 ounces of her. She has a head full of dark hair and the tiniest fingers I've ever seen. When the nurse placed her in my arms, I swear the whole world stopped spinning for a moment." Sarah felt tears prickling behind her closed eyelids as the memory of that day came flooding back. She could almost feel the weight of newborn Emma in her arms, could almost smell the sterile hospital air mixed with the sweetness of new life. Noah leaned in closer, his eyes wide with wonder. "What does it say about me, Em?" he asked eagerly. Emma flipped a few pages forward, scanning the entries until she found what she was looking for. "Here it is," she said, clearing her throat before continuing to read. "Noah Michael Thompson decided to make his grand entrance 2 weeks early. He came into the world on a stormy night as if he couldn't wait to start his adventure. When I heard his first cry, it was like a bolt of lightning straight to my heart. He's smaller than Emma was, but he's got a set of lungs on him that could wake the dead. I have a feeling this little guy is going to keep us on our toes." Sarah opened her eyes, watching as Noah's face lit up with pride at hearing about his birth. She reached out, ruffling his unruly blonde hair. "You certainly have kept us on our toes," she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. As Emma continued to read, Sarah found herself transported back in time. Michael's words painted vivid pictures of their life together. The sleepless nights with newborns, the first steps, first words, and all the small, precious moments in between. He wrote of his hopes and dreams for their children, his fears and insecurities as a father, and his unwavering love for his family. One entry, in particular, caught Sarah's attention. Emma's voice faltered as she read it aloud. "I had a scare at work today. For a moment I thought about what would happen to my family if something were to happen to me. The thought terrified me more than anything ever has. But then I remembered the strength I see in Sarah every day, the kindness in Emma's eyes, and the determination in Noah's little furrowed brow. They are my legacy, my contribution to this world. No matter what happens, a part of me will live on through them. I only hope I can instill in them the values that matter most: love, compassion, and the courage to face whatever life throws their way." The room fell silent as Emma finished reading. Sarah looked at her children, really looked at them, and saw Michael in every feature. Emma had his gentle spirit and quick wit, while Noah had inherited his father's boundless energy and infectious laugh. "Dad really loved us, didn't he?" Noah said, his voice small but filled with wonder. Sarah pulled both children close, feeling their warmth against her. "More than anything in this world," she whispered, her voice breaking. "And he still does wherever he is now." As they sat there, huddled together in the soft lamplight, Sarah felt something shift within her. The grief that had been a constant companion for the past year began to transform. It didn't disappear. She knew it never would entirely. But it changed shape, becoming something softer, something that could coexist with hope and even joy. "You know," Sarah said, wiping away a tear, "your dad would write in this journal every night before bed. He said it helped him make sense of the day and remember what was truly important." Emma looked up, her eyes shining. Could we maybe start doing that too? Writing about our day and the things we remember about Dad?" Noah nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah, and maybe we could read it together sometimes like we did tonight." Sarah felt a warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time. It was the warmth of family, of shared memories and new beginnings. "I think that's a wonderful idea," she said, squeezing them both tightly. As Sarah tucked her children back into bed that night, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. The journal had opened a door, allowing Michael's presence to fill their home once again. It wasn't the same as having him there, but it was a bridge between what was and what could be. In the days and weeks that followed, the Thompson family began a new tradition. Each night they would gather in the children's room, taking turns reading from Michael's journal and then writing their own entries. They shared memories, both happy and sad, and slowly began to heal the wounds that grief had left behind. Emma's entries were filled with vivid descriptions of her day, often accompanied by small drawings in the margins. She wrote about how she felt when she aced a math test, remembering how her dad used to help her with her homework. She described the way the sun felt on her face during recess, recalling picnics in the backyard with her father. Noah's contributions were shorter but no less heartfelt. He wrote about the jokes he remembered his dad telling, trying to capture the exact way Michael's eyes would crinkle when he laughed. He detailed his adventures on the playground, imagining his father cheering him on as he conquered the monkey bars. Sarah found herself looking forward to these nightly gatherings. As she listened to her children's stories and shared her own, she felt the heavy mantle of single parenthood become a little lighter. Michael's words, both from his original journal and echoed in their new entries, served as a guide, helping her navigate the challenges of raising two growing children on her own. One evening, as they sat together on Emma's bed, Noah asked a question that had been weighing on his mind. "Mom," he said, his voice hesitant, "do you think Dad would be proud of us?" Sarah felt her heart swell with love for her son. She pulled him close, breathing in the scent of his hair, a mix of shampoo and the lingering aroma of the spaghetti dinner they had shared earlier. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "I know he would be. He is proud of you, every single day." Emma looked up from the journal, her eyes serious. "How can you be sure?" she asked, voicing the doubt that had been nagging at her as well. Sarah took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "You know, your dad once told me something that I've never forgotten. He said that being a parent is like planting a garden. You nurture the seeds, you water them, you make sure they get enough sunlight. But at some point you have to trust that they'll grow on their own." She paused, looking at each of her children in turn. "Your father poured all of his love into you both. He may not be here physically, but everything he was, his kindness, his strength, his sense of humor, it's all inside you. When I see you helping each other with homework, or standing up for a friend at school, or even just laughing at one of those silly jokes he used to tell, I know he's still here with us." Noah's brow furrowed in concentration. "So, it's like we're Dad's garden?" Sarah smiled, ruffling his hair affectionately. "Exactly. And look how beautifully you're both growing." Emma leaned against her mother's shoulder, a thoughtful expression on her face. "I wish he could see us," she said softly. "I believe he can," Sarah replied, her voice filled with a conviction that surprised even her. "Not in the way we see things, but in a way that's just as real. Every time you do something kind or brave or true to yourself, he sees it. He feels it." As they sat there, the warm glow of the lamp casting long shadows on the wall, Sarah felt a sense of peace settle over them. It wasn't the absence of sadness. She knew that grief would always be a part of their lives, but rather a feeling of connection, of being part of something larger than themselves. "You know," Sarah said, an idea forming in her mind, "I think it's time we did something special with your dad's journal." The children looked at her curiously, waiting for her to continue. "How about we create a memory box?" she suggested. "We can put the journal in it, along with some photos and other things that remind us of your dad. Then, whenever we're missing him or want to feel close to him, we can open it up and spend some time with those memories." Emma's eyes lit up. "Can we put in the ticket stubs from the baseball game we all went to?" she asked excitedly. "The one where Dad caught that foul ball?" Noah chimed in. "And his old guitar pick? The one he used to let me play with when he was teaching me chords?" Sarah felt a warmth spread through her chest. "Those are perfect ideas," she said, pulling them both into a hug. "We'll make it this weekend. We can decorate the box together and fill it with all the things that make us think of Dad." As they continued to talk, sharing ideas for the memory box and recounting stories of Michael, Sarah realized that something fundamental had changed. The grief that had once threatened to overwhelm them was now a channel through which their love could flow. Michael's absence was still keenly felt, but it no longer defined them. Instead, it had become a catalyst for growth, for connection, for a deeper appreciation of the time they had shared and the bonds that continued to unite them. In the days that followed, the Thompson house buzzed with a new energy. Sarah watched as Emma and Noah threw themselves into the project of creating the memory box. They spent hours scouring the house for mementos, each discovery leading to a new story or a shared laugh. Emma found an old photo album tucked away in the back of the closet. As she flipped through its pages, she called out to her brother and mother, her voice filled with excitement. "Look, it's Dad at his college graduation." Noah peered over her shoulder, his eyes wide. "Wow, he looks so young," he exclaimed, taking in the image of a fresh-faced Michael, his arms thrown around his college roommates, a wide grin splitting his face. Sarah joined them, her heart catching at the sight of her husband in his younger days. "I remember that day," she said softly, tracing Michael's face with her finger. "He was so nervous about tripping on stage when he went to get his diploma." "Did he?" Noah asked, giggling at the thought. Sarah laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in months. "No, but he did drop it right after the dean handed it to him. Your dad always had a knack for making people laugh, even when he didn't mean to." As they continued to sort through the photos, more memories surfaced. There was Michael on their wedding day, looking dashing in his tuxedo. Another showed him cradling newborn Emma, his face a mixture of awe and terror. Yet another captured him teaching a toddling Noah how to kick a soccer ball in the backyard. "I'd forgotten about some of these," Sarah murmured, feeling a bittersweet ache in her chest. But instead of the crushing weight of grief she had come to expect, she felt a gentle warmth, a sense of gratitude for the life they had shared. The memory box itself became a family project. They chose a sturdy wooden chest that Michael had made in his woodworking phase, sanding it down and repainting it together. Emma insisted on a deep blue color, like the sky on a clear added his own touch. Carefully gluing seashells Noah added his own touch. Carefully gluing seashells they had collected on their last family vacation to the lid. Each shell, he explained, represented a happy memory with their dad. As they worked, Sarah found herself sharing stories she had almost forgotten. She told them about the time Michael had attempted to bake a cake for her birthday, resulting in a kitchen covered in flour and a lopsided creation that was more love than culinary skill. Emma and Noah laughed until tears streamed down their faces, begging for more tales of their father's misadventures. "There was this one time," Sarah began, a mischievous glint in her eye, "when your dad decided he was going to be a DIY expert and build us a treehouse." Noah's eyes widened with interest. "A treehouse? Why didn't we ever have one?" Sarah chuckled, shaking her head at the memory. "Well, that's the thing. Your father was many things. Kind, funny, brilliant with numbers, but handy with tools? Not so much. He spent an entire weekend out in the backyard hammering and sawing. The neighbors probably thought we were building an entire house extension." Emma leaned in, completely engrossed in the story. "What happened next, Mom?" "Well," Sarah continued, "by Sunday evening he called us out to see his masterpiece. There it was, a platform about 3 feet off the ground, attached to the old oak tree. It was wobbly, the boards were uneven, and I'm pretty sure at least one nail was bent in half." Noah burst into giggles. "That doesn't sound very good." Sarah nodded, her smile widening. "It wasn't. But you know what? Your dad was so proud of it. He had this huge grin on his face, like he'd just built the Taj Mahal. And do you know what he said?" Both children shook their heads, waiting eagerly for the punchline. "He looked at me with those twinkling eyes of his and said, 'Well, honey, I guess we can call it a low-rise treehouse. Perfect for toddlers.'" The room erupted in laughter, the sound bouncing off the walls and filling the space with joy. As their giggles subsided, Sarah felt a warmth in her chest that had been absent for too long. It was the warmth of shared memories, of family bonds strengthened through laughter and love. "You know," Emma said thoughtfully as she carefully placed a photo of the family at the zoo into the memory box, "I used to feel sad whenever we talked about Dad. But now, it's different. I still miss him, but remembering him like this, it makes me happy too." Sarah pulled her daughter close, planting a kiss on the top of her head. That's exactly how it should be, sweetheart. Your dad brought so much joy into our lives. He wouldn't want us to stop laughing just because he's not here. Noah nodded solemnly, his small face serious. Yeah, Dad always said laughter was the best medicine. Remember, Mom, he used to say that even when I had to take yucky cough syrup. Sarah felt her heart swell with pride. Her children, so young and yet so wise, were teaching her how to navigate this new reality. They were showing her that it was possible to honor Michael's memory not through constant sorrow, but through joy, laughter, and love. As the evening wore on, the memory box began to take shape. Alongside the photos and Michael's journal, they added other treasures. The guitar pick Noah had mentioned, ticket stubs from various family outings, and even the recipe for Michael's infamous everything but the kitchen sink cookies, a concoction that was more chocolate chips than cookie, much to the children's delight. Emma carefully placed a pressed flower in the box, a forget-me-not that Michael had given her on her last birthday before he passed away. He said it was because he'd never forget how special I am, she explained, her voice soft with remembrance. Noah contributed a small, smooth stone that he and Michael had found on a camping trip. Dad said it was lucky, he said, rolling the stone between his small fingers. He told me to keep it in my pocket whenever I needed extra courage. As they worked, Sarah marveled at how this simple act of creating the memory box had transformed their evening. What could have been a somber, tearful experience had instead become a celebration of Michael's life and the love he had shared with his family. When they finally closed the lid on the now full memory box, Sarah felt a sense of completion, of a circle closing. But it wasn't an ending. Rather, it felt like the beginning of something new. A new way of keeping Michael's memory alive, of integrating his love into their daily lives. I think Dad would really like this, Noah said, patting the top of the box gently. Emma nodded in agreement. It's like we've made a little piece of him that we can keep with us always. Sarah looked at her children, seeing in their faces a mixture of Michael's features and their own unique spirits. You're absolutely right, she said, her voice filled with emotion. And you know what? I think this box is going to keep growing, just like you two are. What do you mean, Mom? Emma asked, her brow furrowed in curiosity. Sarah smiled, an idea forming in her mind. Well, your dad's story didn't end when he left us. It continues through you both. Every time you do something that reminds me of him, or achieve something he would have been proud of, we can add it to the box. That way, his story, our story, keeps going. Noah's eyes lit up. Like when I scored a goal in soccer last week? Dad loved soccer. Exactly, Sarah nodded. Or when Emma won the spelling bee. Your dad always said she had a way with words, just like him. As they sat there, surrounding the memory box that now held so much of their shared history and love, Sarah felt a shift in the atmosphere of their home. The heavy cloud of grief that had hung over them for so long seemed to lift, replaced by a gentle warmth of remembrance and hope. She realized that this was what moving forward looked like. Not forgetting, never forgetting, but finding a way to carry their love for Michael with them into the future. It wasn't about leaving him behind, but about bringing him along on their journey in a new way. How about we make this a regular thing? Sarah suggested. Maybe once a month we can have a special night where we open the box, share some memories, and add new things if we have them. The children nodded enthusiastically, already looking forward to the next time they would dive into their treasure trove of memories. As Sarah tucked them into bed that night, she felt a peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. The house, which had often felt too quiet, too empty in Michael's absence, now seemed to hum with renewed life and love. She paused at the doorway of the children's room, watching as Emma and Noah drifted off to sleep. In the soft glow of the nightlight, she could almost imagine Michael standing beside her, his arm around her waist, smiling at the sight of their sleeping children. "We're doing okay, my love," she whispered into the quiet room. "We miss you, but we're going to be all right." As she closed the door gently behind her, Sarah felt a subtle shift in her heart. The grief was still there, a quiet ache that she knew would never fully disappear. But alongside it, growing stronger every day, was a sense of purpose, of joy, of life continuing on. She made her way to her own bedroom, her steps lighter than they had been in months. As she settled into bed, her gaze fell on the framed photo of Michael on her nightstand. His smile, frozen in time, seemed to hold a new meaning now. "Good night, Michael," she said softly, touching the frame gently. "Thank you for showing us the way forward." As sleep began to claim her, Sarah's last thoughts were of the memory box, waiting downstairs to be filled with new stories, new triumphs, new moments of joy. In her dreams that night, she saw a future where laughter echoed through the house once more, where Michael's memory was a source of strength rather than sorrow, and where their little family continued to grow in love and resilience. The journey ahead would not always be easy, she knew. There would still be days of sadness, moments when the absence of Michael would feel overwhelming. But now, they had a touchstone, a physical reminder of the love that had shaped their family and continued to guide them. As the first light of dawn began to filter through her curtains, Sarah awoke with a sense of renewal. Today was a new day, full of possibilities. And somewhere, somehow, she knew Michael was watching over them, his love as present and powerful as ever. She rose, ready to face the day, to continue writing their story, a story of love, loss, and the enduring power of family. As she opened the curtains to let in the morning sun, Sarah smiled, feeling Michael's presence in the warmth that flooded the room. Life would go on, different, but no less beautiful, and they would face it together. Their little family of three, carrying Michael's love with them always. As the weeks passed, Sarah noticed subtle changes in their daily lives. The memory box had become a centerpiece of their home, both literally and figuratively. It sat in a place of honor in the living room, its presence a constant reminder of the love that bound them together. Emma, always the artistic one, had taken to leaving little drawings on top of the box. Each morning, Sarah would find a new sketch, sometimes of Michael as Emma remembered him, other times of their family doing activities they used to enjoy together. These small acts of remembrance touched Sarah deeply, showing her that Emma was finding her own way to keep her father's memory alive. Noah, on the other hand, had become the family's unofficial memory keeper. He took it upon himself to remind them of important dates related to Michael, the anniversary of the day he and Sarah met, his favorite holidays, even obscure things like the day Dad finally managed to grill a burger without burning it. Each time Noah brought up one of these memories, it sparked a conversation, often leading to laughter and sometimes to wistful tears. One Saturday morning, as Sarah was making pancakes, Michael's specialty, Noah tugged at her sleeve, his face serious. "Mom," he said, his voice quiet but determined, "I think I want to learn how to play guitar, like Dad." Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. Michael's guitar had been sitting untouched in the corner of their bedroom since he passed away. She had never been able to bring herself to move it, let alone consider playing it. "Are you sure, sweetie?" she asked, kneeling down to Noah's level. "It might be a bit difficult at first." Noah nodded, his jaw set in a way that reminded Sarah so much of Michael, it almost took her breath away. "I'm sure. I want to play the songs Dad used to play for us." Emma, overhearing the conversation, chimed in from her spot at the kitchen table. "I could help, Mom. I remember some of the chords Dad showed me." Sarah looked at her children, feeling a mixture of pride and heartache. They were so resilient, so determined to keep Michael's spirit alive in their own ways. She realized that perhaps it was time for her to take a step forward too. "Okay," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Let's do it. After breakfast, we'll get Dad's guitar out and see what we remember." The rest of the morning was filled with the sounds of clumsy chords and off-key singing as the three of them gathered around Michael's old guitar. Sarah was surprised to find that muscle memory kicked in as she showed Noah how to position his small fingers on the frets. Emma remembered more than she thought, and soon she was teaching her brother a simple melody. As she watched her children bent over the guitar, their faces scrunched in concentration, Sarah felt a warmth spreading through her chest. This was Michael's legacy, Not just memories, but living, growing pieces of him in their children. That evening, as they sat around the dinner table, the conversation was livelier than it had been in months. Noah couldn't stop talking about his plans to learn all of Michael's favorite songs, while Emma was already thinking about writing her own music. "You know," Sarah said, looking at her children with a soft smile, "your dad always said that music was a way of speaking without words. I think he'd be over the moon to see you both so excited about it." Emma nodded, her eyes shining. "I feel closer to him when we play. It's like he's right there with us, showing us how to do it." Noah agreed enthusiastically. "Yeah, and did you hear that sound I made? It almost sounded like the beginning of Brown-Eyed Girl. Dad loved that song." Sarah laughed, remembering how Michael used to serenade her with that very song, often off-key but always full of love. He sure did. And you know what? I think we should add this to our memory box, this new chapter of music in our lives. The children's eyes lit up at the suggestion. After dinner, they gathered around the memory box. Sarah carefully placed a guitar pick, one of Michael's old ones, inside, along with a note describing their musical afternoon. As they closed the lid, Sarah felt a sense of peace wash over her. They were moving forward, but they were bringing Michael with them in new and beautiful ways. That night, as she tucked the children into bed, Sarah noticed a change in the atmosphere of their home. The silence that had once felt oppressive now seemed full of possibility. The emptiness was gradually being filled with new memories, new traditions, all built on the foundation of love that Michael had helped create. She paused at the doorway of the children's room, just as she had done on that fateful night when they first discovered Michael's journal. But this time, instead of grief, she felt hope. Hope for the future, for the growth of her children, for the continued presence of Michael's love in their lives. "Good night, my loves," she whispered, blowing a kiss to her sleepy children. "Good night, Mom," they chorused back. Then, in a move that brought tears to Sarah's eyes, they both added, "Good night, Dad." As Sarah made her way to her own room, she felt Michael's presence more strongly than she had in months, not as a painful reminder of loss, but as a comforting presence, a guiding light for their family. She picked up the framed photo of Michael from her nightstand, tracing his smile with her finger. "We're doing it, my love," she whispered. "We're keeping your spirit alive, and we're growing stronger every day." As she drifted off to sleep, Sarah's dreams were filled with music. She saw Michael, guitar in hand, teaching Noah and Emma, all three of them laughing and playing together. And there she was, watching them, her heart full of love and gratitude. In her dream, Michael turned to her, his eyes twinkling with that familiar mischief she'd always adored. "Keep playing our song, Sarah," he said, his voice echoing with love. "It's got a long way to go yet." Sarah awoke the next morning with a smile on her face and a lightness in her heart. The journey of grief was far from over, she knew. There would still be hard days, moments when the pain of Michael's absence would feel overwhelming. But now, she also knew that there would be days filled with music, with laughter, with new memories that honored the old. As she got up to start another day, Sarah paused by the window, looking out at the world bathed in morning sunlight. She took a deep breath, feeling stronger and more at peace than she had in a long time. "Okay, Michael," she said softly, her voice filled with determination and love. "Let's keep playing our song, together." And with that, she opened the curtains wide, letting the light flood in, ready to face whatever the day might bring. The house came alive with the sounds of children stirring, of breakfast being made, of a family continuing to grow and thrive, always carrying the love of their father and husband with them. As Emma and Noah bounded down the stairs, already chattering about their plans to practice guitar later, Sarah felt a profound sense of gratitude. They were not just surviving, they were living, truly living, and keeping Michael's spirit alive in every laugh, every song, every moment of love they shared. The memory box sat in its place of honor, a silent witness to their journey. But it was no longer just a container of the past. It had become a bridge to their future, a constant reminder that love never truly dies. It evolves, it grows, and it continues to shape our lives in beautiful and unexpected ways. Sarah gathered her children in a warm embrace before they sat down for breakfast. As she held them close, she whispered a quiet thank you to Michael, to the universe, to whatever force had given her the strength to keep going, to find joy again. Their story was far from over. In fact, in many ways, it felt like it was just beginning. A new chapter filled with music, memories, and the enduring power of family love. And as they sat down to eat, the morning sun streaming through the windows, Sarah knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, their hearts beating in harmony with the love that would always be a part of them. The day stretched out before them, full of promise and possibility. And somewhere, somehow, Sarah was sure that Michael was watching, his love surrounding them, guiding them forward into their bright, beautiful future. As the seasons changed, so did the Thompson family. The house that had once felt too quiet, too empty, now buzzed with a new kind of energy. The sound of guitar strings being plucked, sometimes tentatively, sometimes with growing confidence, became a regular part of their daily soundtrack. Noah, true to his word, had thrown himself into learning the guitar with a determination that both impressed and moved Sarah. She would often find him in the living room, Michael's old guitar dwarfing his small frame. His tongue stuck out in concentration as he practiced the chords Emma had taught him. One afternoon, as Sarah was folding laundry, she heard a familiar melody drifting from Noah's room. Her heart skipped a beat as she recognized the opening notes of Brown-Eyed Girl, Michael's favorite song. She set down the laundry basket and quietly made her way to Noah's door. There he sat, cross-legged on his bed, the guitar balanced precariously on his lap. His small fingers moved slowly but surely across the strings, coaxing out the tune that had been the backdrop to so many family memories. Sarah leaned against the doorframe, tears pricking at her eyes. For a moment, she was transported back in time, to lazy Sunday mornings when Michael would strum that very song, to family road trips with all of them singing along off-key, to the last night before Michael got sick when he had serenaded her under the stars in their backyard. Noah looked up, his face breaking into a wide grin when he saw her. "Mom, did you hear? I finally got it." Sarah crossed the room and enveloped her son in a hug, careful not to jostle the guitar. "I heard, sweetheart. It's beautiful. Dad would be so proud of you." Noah beamed, his chest puffing up with pride. Do you think he can hear it wherever he is?" Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. She sat down next to Noah on the bed, running her hand through his unruly hair, so like Michael's. "I believe he can," she said softly. "I think he hears every note, and I bet he's got the biggest smile on his face right now." Noah nodded solemnly, his eyes shining. "I'm going to keep practicing. I want to play it perfectly, just like Dad did." As Noah resumed his practice, Sarah made her way back to the laundry, her heart full. She realized that the pain of missing Michael, while still present, had changed. It was no longer a sharp, overwhelming ache, but rather a bittersweet warmth that reminded her of the love they had shared and the legacy he had left behind. Meanwhile, Emma had found her own way of connecting with Michael's memory. Her artistic talents, always encouraged by her father, had blossomed in new and unexpected ways. She had taken to creating elaborate scrapbooks, filling them with a mix of old photos, her own drawings, and written memories contributed by all of them. One evening, as the family sat around the dining table, Emma presented her latest creation. "I made this for us," she said, a hint of shyness in her voice as she placed the scrapbook on the table. "It's about Dad's favorite adventures." Sarah and Noah leaned in, their dinner forgotten as Emma carefully opened the book. Each page was a work of art, filled with vibrant drawings and carefully pasted photographs. There was the camping trip where Michael had unsuccessfully tried to teach them all how to fish, the disastrous attempt at building a treehouse, the day they had adopted their old dog Max from the shelter. As they flipped through the pages, laughing at the memories and marveling at Emma's artistic skill, Sarah felt a shift in the atmosphere. The dining room, which had sometimes felt too big, too empty with Michael's chair unoccupied, now seemed to be filled with his presence. Emma, this is incredible, Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. You've captured Dad so perfectly in these drawings. Emma smiled, a blush creeping up her cheeks. I used the memory box for inspiration, she admitted, and I left some pages blank at the end. I thought maybe we could fill them with new adventures, the ones we're having now, and the ones we'll have in the future. Sarah felt her heart swell with pride and love. Her children, in their own unique ways, were not just coping with their loss. They were actively finding ways to keep Michael's spirit alive, to integrate his memory into their ongoing lives. That's a wonderful idea, Emma, she said, pulling her daughter into a tight hug. Dad always said that life was about making memories. I think he'd love knowing that we're still doing that and that we're including him in our new adventures. Noah, not wanting to be left out, scrambled over to join the hug. Can we put my guitar playing in the book? He asked excitedly. And maybe we can write about our special memory box nights. Sarah laughed, ruffling Noah's hair affectionately. Of course we can. This book is about our whole family, past, present, and future. As they sat there, huddled together over Emma's scrapbook, Sarah felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. The journey of the past year had been challenging, filled with moments of heart-wrenching grief and uncertainty. But here they were, not just surviving, but finding new ways to thrive. Michael's absence would always be felt, a bittersweet note in the symphony of their lives. But his love, his spirit, his very essence, continued to shape their family in beautiful and unexpected ways. Through Noah's music, Emma's art, and the stories they continued to share, Michael remained an active presence in their lives. Later that night, after the children had gone to bed, Sarah sat alone in the living room, Emma's scrapbook open on her lap. She traced the lines of Michael's face in one of Emma's drawings, marveling at how accurately their daughter had captured his gentle eyes and warm smile. "Oh, Michael," she whispered into the quiet room. "I wish you could see them. They're so strong, so resilient. They're keeping you with us in the most beautiful ways." As if in response, a gentle breeze rustled the curtains, carrying with it the faint scent of Michael's favorite cologne. Sarah closed her eyes, allowing herself to imagine just for a moment that he was there with her, his arm around her shoulders, his voice whispering words of love and encouragement. When she opened her eyes, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. She may be walking this path without Michael physically by her side, but she was far from alone. His love, embodied in their children and in the memories they continued to create, would always light the way forward. With a soft smile, Sarah closed the scrapbook and placed it carefully on the coffee table, right next to the memory box. These tangible reminders of their journey, past, present, and future, stood as testaments to the enduring power of love and family. As she made her way to bed, Sarah paused in the hallway, looking at the family photos that lined the walls. Michael's smile beamed out from many of them, a constant reminder of the joy he had brought into their lives. But now, mixed in with the older photos, were new ones. Noah with his guitar, Emma with her art supplies, the three of them laughing together on a recent picnic. Life was moving forward, evolving in ways she could never have predicted. Yet somehow, Michael was still a part of it all. His love had become the foundation upon which they were building their new reality, a source of strength and inspiration as they navigated this new chapter of their lives. Sarah touched a photo of the five of them, taken on their last family vacation before Michael got sick. "We're okay, my love," she whispered. "We're more than okay. We're living, we're loving, and we're keeping you with us every step of the way." As she drifted off to sleep that night, Sarah's dreams were filled with music and laughter, with vibrant images of past memories and hopeful visions of the future. And through it all, she felt Michael's presence, not as a sorrowful reminder of what they had lost, but as a beautiful affirmation of the love that continued to guide them forward. The Thompson family's journey was far from over. There would be more challenges to face, more milestones to celebrate, more memories to create. But they would face it all together, their hearts forever intertwined with the love of the husband and father who had shaped their lives so profoundly. And so, as a new day dawned, Sarah, Emma, and Noah continued to write their story, a story of resilience, of healing, and of the unbreakable bonds of family love. A story that proved that even in the face of great loss, the human heart has a remarkable capacity to heal, to grow, and to find joy once again. Their tale served as a testament to the enduring nature of love, showing that even when a beloved presence is physically gone, their spirit can continue to inspire, guide, and bring light to the lives of those they left behind. The Thompson family's journey from grief to healing became a beacon of hope, illuminating the path for others who might be facing similar challenges. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the windows, Sarah awoke with a sense of anticipation for what the new day might bring. She could hear Noah already up, the soft strains of his guitar practice drifting through the house. Emma's voice soon joined in, humming along to her brother's playing. Sarah smiled, her heart full of love and gratitude. This was their song now, a beautiful melody of remembrance and hope, of past joys and future dreams. And somewhere, somehow, she knew Michael was listening, his love eternally entwined with the music of their lives. As Sarah made her way downstairs, she paused at the bottom step, taking in the scene before her. Noah sat cross-legged on the living room floor, guitar in hand, his face scrunched in concentration as he worked through a new chord progression. Emma was curled up on the couch, her sketchbook balanced on her knees, pencil flying across the page as she captured her brother's determined expression. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow over the room. It highlighted the memory box on the mantel, the colorful spines of Emma's scrapbooks lined up neatly on the bookshelf, and the family photos, old and new, that adorned the walls. "Good morning, my loves," Sarah said, her voice filled with warmth. Both children looked up, their faces breaking into wide smiles. "Mom, you're just in time," Noah exclaimed. "I think I've finally figured out the bridge to that new song I've been working on." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "It's sounding really good, Mom. I think Dad would love it." Sarah felt her heart swell with pride and love. "I'm sure he would, sweetheart. Why don't you play it for us, Noah?" As Noah began to play, his small fingers moving with growing confidence over the strings, Sarah settled onto the couch next to Emma. She wrapped an arm around her daughter, peering over her shoulder at the sketch taking shape on the page. The music filled the room, a melody that was uniquely Noah's, but carried echoes of Michael's favorite songs. It was a perfect representation of where they were now, honoring the past while creating something new and beautiful. Emma's drawing captured it all. Noah playing, Sarah listening with a soft smile, and there, in the background, a faint outline of Michael, his presence felt even if unseen. As the last notes faded away, a comfortable silence fell over the room. It was Emma who broke it, her voice thoughtful. "You know, I used to be scared that we'd forget Dad, that as time passed he'd fade away from us." Sarah hugged her daughter closer, feeling Noah scoot over to join them on the couch. "And how do you feel now?" she asked gently. Emma smiled, a mix of sadness and joy in her eyes. "Now I know that's impossible. He's a part of everything we do, every song Noah plays, every picture I draw, every time we laugh at one of his old jokes or make new memories, he's there." Noah nodded solemnly. "Yeah, it's like, he's not gone, he's just changed. Instead of being here in person, he's here in our hearts and in all the things we do." Sarah felt tears prick at her eyes, but they were tears of pride and profound love. "You're both so right," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Your dad's love is a part of who we are. It's in your music, Noah, and in your art, Emma. It's in the way we care for each other and in the memories we keep making." She looked around the room, at the life they had built and continued to build. "We carry him with us every day in everything we do, and that love, that connection, it's something that will never fade." The three of them sat there, wrapped in a warm embrace, letting the truth of those words sink in. They had been through so much. The crushing grief, the difficult days when it felt like the pain would never ease, the gradual process of learning to live and love again. But here they were, not just surviving, but thriving. They had found a way to keep Michael's memory alive while also moving forward, creating new joy, new memories, new dreams. As they finally stirred, ready to start their day, Sarah felt a profound sense of peace. The journey of grief was ongoing, and there would always be moments of sadness. But there would also be moments like this, filled with love, with music, with creativity, with the unbreakable bonds of family. "All right, my loves," Sarah said, giving them both one last squeeze before standing up. "What shall we do today?" Noah's eyes lit up. "Can we have a picnic in the backyard, like we used to do with Dad?" Emma nodded eagerly. "Oh yes, and I can bring my sketchbook, and Noah can bring his guitar, and we can make a whole day of it." Sarah smiled, her heart full. "That sounds perfect. A day of making new memories while cherishing the old ones. Your dad would love it." As they bustled about, preparing for their day, Sarah paused for a moment, looking at a photo of Michael on the wall. His smile seemed to shine even brighter today. "We're doing okay, my love," she whispered. "We're keeping your spirit alive, and we're finding joy again. Thank you for the love you gave us. It's guiding us every single day." With that, she turned to join her children, ready to embrace another day of love, laughter, and the beautiful, ongoing symphony of family life. The music of their shared love, past, present, and future, played on, a testament to the enduring power of the human heart, to heal, to grow, and to love without end. As they stepped out into the sunny backyard, picnic basket in hand and guitar slung over Noah's shoulder, Sarah knew that this was more than just a new chapter. It was a continuation of their family's story, one that would keep unfolding in beautiful and unexpected ways. Michael's love had given them roots, and now it was giving them wings. Together they would keep flying, keep growing, keep loving, carrying his memory with them always, a guiding star in the vast, wonderful journey of life. And so, the Thompson family's story continued, a living testament to the power of love, the strength of family bonds, and the beautiful resilience of the human spirit. Their journey from grief to healing, from loss to renewal, would go on, a never-ending song of love, remembrance, and the joy of life fully lived.